Be a visionary with debonair, a player from the Himalayas, iconic, not ironic, and become a night owl tonight, where like-minded members get together at the Night Owl Lounge, enjoying extra content, backstage hangouts, exclusive interviews by going to RealDealMedia.tv. Again, that's RealDealMedia.tv. Join tonight.
Slowly down the Hall of Fame we go. But before we do, it's time for the return of World at War. Good evening, everybody. It is your somewhat humble correspondent here, your cruise director, Dean Ryan. It is so good to be back with you here tonight for World at War, the #1 late night show of Real Deal Media. Yeah, I've been on the shelf too long, haven't I? It's so good to be back. I cannot express that enough. So much has happened since I've been here with all of you, although we've tried to connect over what has it been? How many weeks now? I can't even keep track anymore. hit with the virus, took our entire system down. I've never been away this long before. I've forgotten who I am. I don't know what's going on anymore. And I'm sweating. Yes, tonight we're going to try to get back into form, although it might take me some while, everybody. I have an entirely new system, and the best way I could describe it is it's like I've been driving just an old 78 Datsun for so long, and I just got the new Cadillac that I'm learning the gears once again, and I'm retrieving some of the classical, just incredible montages of graphics that we have accumulated over the years, and I'm trying to locate what they are and bring them back into the fold here. But nonetheless, I am back with all of you, and we have a few things to get to and a lot of things to get here to tonight, as tonight's episode is The Return. Yes, The Return. Keep your receipts. We're going to be getting into some of the just amazing, some might call devastating, just political news, political upsets that just occurred just over the past 24 hours. Yes, some of them stemming all the way from New York, all the way to Walla Walla, Washington, I believe. And it is stunning, staggering, and steamy. Some might have called it just that. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about some of the latest Politico news coming out. It's going to change the landscape as MAGA upset. A lot of the MAGA candidates running for mayor, governor, even county board in some cases, and probably even just crossing guard have all lost. And gee, I never saw that coming from a mile. So we'll get into the examining of that and what that entails. Plus some other things to note. We're going to be talking about some major international news that we thought this we hoped it would never happen, but military troops, American troops in Gaza, in the Middle East, once again. We're going to see what that's all about, as Washington, seems to be asking the UN if it's okay if they play too. And if it's not okay, we're going to play anyways. You see, it's a zero-sum game at this point. I just can't believe it. So there is that one. Plus, in a major in-depth piece on Netanyahu, the man who was said to have been the Antichrist, but they'll settle for just an evil war criminal at this point. As it's now being said that there might be some secret papers on Netanyahu that the U.S. holds. Although I don't believe that for 1 minute. That man is bulletproof and American proof for that fact. But it's said to be out there, and that he's indeed a spook. Yeah, we'll see what that's all about. I can't wait. And something happened to the Mexican president that I've never seen happen before to any president, man, woman, or other. I'm telling you, it's getting chaotic over there in Mexico. So we got chaos to the north of us and chaos to the south of us here in the U.S. Right in the middle, well, it's just completely chaotic. And that's what makes a world at war. Okay, so we're going to get started. But before we do, we're going to, I have to tell you, we are broadcasting. We're broadcasting live on The Real Deal. The Real Dean Ryan over there, the travel page on Facebook. Hello, if you can see me. How many fingers am I holding? Also, we are on Dean Ryan TV over there on YouTube, the wonderful graveyard, and the beautiful new penthouse graveyard over there on Rumble. Hello, if you can see me, hear me, and feel me. Do you feel me? That's right. Okay, let's get started now with some headlines from around the world and in your neck of the deep state woods. Well, here it is. It is the return. Yes, it is. It is just a returning factor of that fact. But I'm back. That's all that matters, I guess. Yes, the return. The returns for the Republicans, speaking of returns, isn't so good. But something else that isn't good is the return and the consequences of the government shutdown, as we now get to some real deal headlines. Well, yes, you might have noticed there's been a lot of shutdowns of airlines over the course of 3 months and probably longer than that, but we all have short term memory issues and long term ones as well. Well, in this case, air traffic controllers, which I read it wrong, and I read air traffickers, which I'm like, is there a place where trafficking is not happening? Well, in this case, it could be the skies, as now the air traffic controllers warn of a tipping point. Yes, a tipping point in USA now as the government shutdown is in drags. It's dragging on to no end. It's going to make holiday travel just that much more, well, unsavory. Yes, TV dinner it is now as the air traffic controllers warn of that tipping point. As for many travelers, the nation's airspace was a scary place to be on just this past Halloween. That was probably the scariest, as now as the Federal Aviation Administration was forced to delay flights across the U.S. because of staffing shortages in dozens of air traffic control facilities, making for one of the most difficult days to fly in the government shutdown in all of the 5 weeks. Yes, not to mention all of the just dead airport workers who took the miracle jab, but we're not supposed to know about that. Well, and those who quit and were never allowed back in. Well, here's a quote from someone who's familiar with the shutdown. Well, they're saying that what we're seeing is a lot of people who are truly having to call in sick to go earn money elsewhere. One air trafficker controller who works in a facility over there in the Midwest that handles high altitude trafficking. Well, he also went on saying that, quote, I think that you're also going to be seeing people who are just calling in sick because they are fed up, well, with everything. What's not to be fed up with? Have you seen the news lately? Well, that's right. The government shutdown is now taking a growing toll on many of the traffickers who are in control of the airs, that is, who are required to work without pay. What is this, CNN? Furloughs? Well, now staffing shortages and people who are short in the staff, well, led to major delays over the weekend, raising concerns about more widespread travel chaos. We just need more chaos, don't we? As the shutdown continues. Now, the 4 current air traffic controllers this week who've all asked not to use their names because they're hard to pronounce and they're not in English because they're afraid of retaliation from the FAA. Mainly Pete Buttiplug, but he's no longer there, but his ghost still haunts them. Well, they said the morale was very low even before the government shutdown due to longstanding staffing shortage across the system. Now, get this. Now, there's a mandatory overtime and stagnant wages are all part of the factors dampening morale, which has gotten even worse now that the controllers are not even being paid. This is crazy. I thought the guy from the real world was handling this like real world people do from MTV. Well, I'm talking about Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Yeah, Sean Duffy, who now insists the U.S. air travel system is safe. There's nothing to see here. That the FAA will need to reroute and limit the number of planes in order to keep it that way, or else we will restrict the airspace when we feel it's not safe. Well, it's not safe. Now's a good time. Now's a good time. Because in case you missed it, why I say that, because of the UPS crash just the other day. Did you hear about this? This is another stunning blow to the United Parcel Service. Well, here it is. Yeah, a UPS plane crash just took place yesterday and over the weekend. And I couldn't believe this as a former person who used to, I guess, work there during college. It's hard to hear this, but yet we have to hear it after all now as UPS flight 2976 in a fiery crash. And a lot of people are asking why, how come, who's behind it, and is it because of the FAA? I'll show you a video that just emerged here in a second, but let me just recap the moment. Well, now the UPS cargo plane that hurtled out of the sky shortly after taking off from the Muhammad Ali International Airport over there in Louisville, Kentucky. Well, it crashed in a massive fiery explosion in a cloud of flames, billowing black smoke that could be seen for miles and miles. Well, the fuel plane smashed into businesses on the ground and sent debris flying in a wide radius. Some people described it as an apocalyptic moment. At least 9 people were killed now, including all 3 who were aboard the plane, and 11 were injured. Now, Governor Andy Bashara said early Wednesday that a search and rescue is still going on and the death toll is expected to grow. Oh, yeah, it is. Now, 2 people who are in critical condition over there, who are now being treated at the Health Burn Center over there in Kentucky. Well, the health system, they said today, they just reported that 2 others are being treated with non-life-threatening injuries, and 6 more were being hurtled in and treated with also non-life-threatening injuries, according to local hospitals. Now, what kind of UPS plane crashed into Kentucky? It was a big one, an old one from the McDonnell Douglas, or as they call it today, Boeing, as it was leaving Honolulu. So there was a lot of fuel on there. Now, it's concern and safety for those who are paying attention, but this is what's interesting, that this particular jet in this particular plane model hasn't carried passengers in over 10 years. It's just a cargo plane, so this is kind of weird. Now, my question is, who was on that plane for it to crash? Was it another Mormon leader? Was it someone who is connected to the political White House of, I guess, our White House? Well, here's a new piece of footage that's emerging as we can now try to scope in and hone in on just exactly what took down the UPS cargo plane that was carrying passengers for the first time, if you can believe it. Check this out. Well, look at that. Drastically different than the Pentagon footage, isn't it? That's what we don't see over there in the Pentagon. Just incredible. Just incredible. Well, makes you wonder, because we know that the Miami building collapse took down it was said to take down McAfee when he had the terabytes of some interesting information. But what it really honestly did, as we told you all those years ago, just to give an example, it took down the president's sister of Paraguay, the country of Paraguay over there in Latin America, South America, because Paraguay didn't want to get along with the COVAX that was taking over the continent, and that's what a message was sent. Wow, just incredible. Well, that's now going to lead us to some real deal politics, because there's a lot to get to on this one. Hold your hats and hold my beer too, if you can. Real deal politics. You know, the landscape is changing, everybody. Even before we get to the results of the elections, you know, particularly in New York, which is a big one, the landscape's changed. What we knew, or what we were told MAGA was, truly honestly wasn't, and the people who represent the MAGA, Make America Great Again, they're going to continue on. They're continuing on with their message. And just you could really sense the change. You could feel it. For example, just yesterday, I think for the second or third time, the New York Times is now featuring Nick Fuentes. They're building him for a reason. And I don't know if you've heard, I think I might have played some of his content not that long ago, but very briefly. He's telling a lot of truth about a very foreign, yet now domestic adversary. But they're building him for a reason. And just remember what they were saying, the administration was saying here, how they're going to go after the guns of the so-called radical extreme left, as they keep pushing this Charlie Kirk narrative of the one lone gunman that did it. Even if that whole thing was completely manufactured, concocted, a Broadway event, the fact of the matter is they're pushing for a civil war in this country. And you or I could be labeled a left-wing extremist just because we question certain ethics and certain objectives of foreign countries and why they're embedded in ours. And Nick Fuentes could be the archetype that you could be glued to, or you could be categorized and associated with as the straw man they want to use to take all of us down in all of our speech. And that is very worrisome. But if you were reading the New York Post or the New York Times Politico section, well, they're saying that the worrisome, well, that's the jihad takeover in New York, as now that brings us to our first story here, as Zohran Mamdani wins New York City. Zohran Mamdani. Yes, I just, it sounds like a psychic name, don't you think? Don't you just want to dial in and just have him read your fortune? I do. Well, it's a big upset. He was going, as we discovered last night, he was going against the Cuomo, the gorilla. The guy just never goes away. He never dies, but he was backed by Donald Trump. And he's a renowned Democrat in New York, and who went against Donald Trump in 2020 as he was trying for his reelection. In fact, we even called him all the way back in the day because he got caught at a press conference, Mr. Nipple Clamps. Yes, he was wearing, exactly. I can't make this up. So now there is a shocking upset. And also, too, there was a third patron who was running too. I can't recall his name, but we called him Raspberry Beret. He always wore that beret. But let me tell you about this now. As Zohran Mamdani, yes, in his fortune teller ways now, he is now the new mayor of New York City. Is now he's promising free buses for New York City. And now let's get into the closer look at the plan and how it gets all paid for, because you know that this is going to be the model for the midterms going into 2026, as the controlled opposition here of the political bird, the Democrats, are probably going to win in a landslide. I'm telling you, because if people are not going to vote Republican, people are probably not going to vote at all, or they might vote Democrat, just to give you my consensus. Well, one of the signature policies of Mr. Zorhan, no relation, because you can bet you'll see this in your neck of the metropolitan woods. Well, now he's promised free buses now. One of the many proposals of the New York City's new elected mayor, as he presented a campaign filled with ideas to make living in New York City, well, feel like the Soviet Union to some, or Tiananmen Square to others. Well, now that he's been elected as the city's next mayor, we're told that there's going to be just jihad in the street. Heads are going to be rolling. Red heifers are going to be running away. I mean, this is the kind of propaganda which we'll talk about here in a second. But he's a proclaimed democratic socialist, as he now works to begin his ideas and see how flawed they truly are. Yeah, the democratic socialist, the term that never went away with 2016. Well, Zohran, he was leading by an edge, but he beat the so-called Cuomo, the legacy character and candidate for that fact. Well, he's now saying that people are paying too much for buses and we need to fix the MTA. He's saying the MTA is about $800 million a year of a budget, which may sound like a lot of money, but we can pay for it. Wow. Free buses, they say. We need to support those who are in the MTA, the bus league over there. He added that because congestion pricing is the law of the land and the transit agency is a massive deficit, he believes the odds of New Yorkers getting to enjoy free buses is, well, slim to none, but we can make it happen for that fact. So I can't read about this anymore because it's really making me especially not ever want to go back to New York. Well, so we're talking about free buses. Now, let me just tell you, too, here's some other things that he's promising. And by the way, this is all taking pages out of the book of the Communist Manifesto. This is exactly how they do it. They're going to do this in Boston. They're trying to do it in Chicago. They're going to bring it to L.A. And it all has a lot to do, and it's going to be piggybacked on the fact that the food stamps, the food cards, are being a political football at the moment. But the wave of this character, and it's put a bad taste in many people's mouths, but he spoke to the people who are disenfranchised, and he wouldn't kiss the ring of Israel. That was a big deal. In fact, that's all the other candidates seem to have ran on. That fact right there, and the fact that he's supposed, or he's Muslim, or he is Muslim, or could be tomorrow. But they're also planning to nationalize, in this case, grocery stores, which is probably the worst idea. This was floated around with the mayor of Chicago. And where are all these mayors coming from? They all have the same blueprints at the same times. So they want to nationalize the supermarkets, which it sounds great. It might be great for a hot second, but it all leads to food rationing because you're going to eventually run out of other people's money, as Maggie Thatcher said, because socialism never truly works. Ask England, and they might tell you, although it might not be in English. But in this case, this is the plan they want to do. Then they want to say, just like we learned with the Black Lives Matter, the biggest psyop since the last psyop, well, they want to say you don't own that house that you live in. Well, technically, they might be right if we're paying property tax. That's just a hell of a lot more than just rent in an average apartment. Do you recall this? You had the mayor of Boston, the CCP friendly, saying that you need to accept Ukrainian migrants into your house, or you're racist, or you're with Putin. I mean, the logic here is the logic of a 7-year-old. Now, here's some of the blowback that's happening in the consequences of this election, as we see, because we're given one extreme of you have the Zionist lover of all, or you have the limp-wristed jihadis, maybe not guy, but definitely a democratic socialist, whatever the hell that means, just a communist in this case. But here's what happened in the mean run. Look at this. Well, you have the Jewish fire department chief resigns on the same day. City elects socialist mayor Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, so he's a goner. Look at that. Look at that. He just wet himself. And here's another one. This is how they fought this guy. Now, this is so stupid to me. Look at this. The Act for America. Help us stop the stealth jihad dead in the tracks. Now, imagine if this was said about Cuomo. Help us stop the Zionists in training. This is how they fought the guy. They didn't fight him on his ideas. Why do you think that is? They didn't fight him on his ideas because his ideas were bad. They fought him on the fear factor of like the Bush era that they're still trying to replicate on us. And guess what that does? And the power structure likes that because this helps the Netanyahu campaign to get us into a fear factory war with Iran. Sure, they could just burn up some Jewish churches and say that, oh, it's because of Zoran. That's why we did it. But here's really the power structure. Here's the real winner of it all. Look at this. This is Mr. Zoran. After all, well, so proud of the New Yorker. The American dream continues. Congrats, Mayor. Oh, is that Alex Soros? Oh, my. I thought it was Rachel Maddow. Well, I was wrong. So there you have it. Yeah, he is the favorite. So no matter who won that, it's a lose-lose for New Yorkers. But that's a little preview of what we have to look forward to in the midterms. It's not going to be pretty at all. No, it's not. Neither is the aftermath of last night. As now the blame game now continues. That brings us to this, the MAGA blame game. Have you played it? It's a wonderful board game. I win every time. It's just incredible now. Let me tell you about this now. Is the MAGA blame game is all in full effect. Yes, it is. A lot of people don't want to take credit for the loss, but they'll start pointing at others. As now the base of Donald Trump and everyone who is still there is now down everybody's throat. They're jumping down everybody's throat as the GOP now suffered a huge crushing defeat across the country just last night. Now, in the wake of the GOP's beatings, they've lost Virginia, New Jersey, California, New York City. MAGA has descended into a blame fest, arguing over whether Republicans had failed to mobilize enough voters, if eternal fighting and other strategic missteps were to blame. Well, without going further, I could just tell you right off the bat, well, you had a sweep. I mean, they had the House, the Senate, the executive branch, and the first thing that despicable Speaker of the House does was fund Ukraine and fund Israel. Major strike. How does that work? And still does. There's one strike, two strikes. big agro wins again, as now the American farmers are meeting our meat supply and our chain was awarded to Argentina. That's huge. The working man doesn't like that. Strike two. And there's a lot of strikes, but these are the ones that come to mind. Also, we're now arming again, once again, and going back and forth and playing this dog and pony show with Ukraine and arming them with Scud missiles for a greater and bigger war with Russia. What is that about? Strike 4 or 5 at this point. We bombed Iran. We got involved in another war right in our face for Israel. Strike 6. And finally, the big one. This was an administration and the people around it over the course of 2, 3, 4 years now that literally campaigned on releasing the perpetrators who harmed, maimed, assaulted children with Jeffrey Epstein, and all of those documents that were promised. Even people like Don Jr., who I just can't stomach, saying, where did they got to hide? Even Mr. Hostage himself, Kash Patel, where did they got to hide? We're going to release it all. None of them were released. And neither are all of the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And how about the files they're very afraid to release? The Malcolm X files. You ever hear anyone talk about that? Because that's the most damning one. They don't want to release the MLK ones totally and fully, because you'll find out what a philanderer and an orgy enthusiast that was going on there. People will be burning in the streets for that one. So you take those pillars that I just shared with you. That's what happened yesterday in the big upset, and that's what to expect going into 2026. And how does that turn around? And how are we not a occupied country? The more we learn of who's really controlling the hen house here, who's guarding it, who's controlling it, and who's destroying it as well. So there's no winners in this. But furthermore, some of the people who are big part of this, they're saying that Trump spent all year on the Middle East. His big donors loved it. The voters did not. Exactly what I said. This is coming from Mike Cernovich. Yes, he's still around. Well, he's saying that Virginia is going to be under a Democrat supermajority now, which is wild. Having been there to Virginia, it's like Mayberry everywhere. But then you get into the big welfare cities. That's who runs it. Now, people are saying that if people keep listening to Mark Levin as the census report, as he puts his dirty Zionist finger in the air, there's going to be an impeachment process starting next year if we keep going the way of the Israeli buffalo, for that fact. Here's another quote here. This is from Laura Loomer, just to give you an opposite contrast to what we just heard. So this is from Laura, I Love Dog Food Loomer. She says the following: why did the GOP run 2 never-Trumpers for governor in New Jersey and Virginia? Why did the GOP refuse to speak the truth about Islam with multiple Islamo-commies on the ballot? How come we haven't seen any real efforts to secure our elections? This is outrageous. How come this broad gets full access to the White House? How come she gets full showcasing on every major news outlet like she's a big something? Unless she's I don't know, an agent, like we're finding out a lot of these people are. So, the blame game goes on, I guess. None of them. Mike Cernovich actually made a few points there, but not Laura, the dog food enthusiast. No, she didn't. I don't think so. And that's how that one goes and feels to me. A lot of people who are coming to grips with all this, they call me, and they call me late at night, early in the morning, where I start to feel like Dr. Fraser Crane at times. But they say, Dean, I can't. Everything I believed in, everything I voted for, everything that I wanted, it's not happening. I don't know who I am anymore, what direction to go. Well, I bring you to this. This might help those out there who might feel disenchanted, disfranchised, and just totally dissed in general. Well, look at this here. This should help you. Stages of deprogramming. Well, if you start from the top left, it says loss, hurt. There's the shock. Yeah, shocker. And then you feel the numbness, you feel the denial, which I thought was just a river in Egypt. I was wrong. Then you feel the emotional outbursting, anger, fear, searchings, dysentery, panic, guilt, loneliness, isolation. And that was just me last night. But there's more. It gets better. Well, then after you get the depression, you get the reentry troubles, which is the shakes. Then you get new relationships. Yes, you do, even if they're just one night. Then you get new strengths, you get new patterns, you feel the hope, you feel the burn, affirmation, helping others. And there it goes. So just to give you an idea of how this works here. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here as I'm getting used to being back in the pilot seat here. When we get back, we're going to get into some Real Deal International and talk about just exactly what took place with the Mexican president. Unbelievable. And we're also going to explore the possibility. We don't know yet. It could be the possibility of American troops in Gaza, just for starters. So don't go anywhere as you're watching World at War right here on Real Deal Media's network. Stand by. All right, this lady on the plane told me to go screw myself and all kinds of stuff, and because I wouldn't wear a mask. Here she comes right behind me. She's flipping me off and everything. Getting violent with me as I left the plane. I love it. I love the zombies. Just a whole scene there. Oh, there's my favorite woman. Now we can talk. What were you saying to me on the plane? What were you saying to me on the plane? You were flipping me off? Wait, come on, you're on my show. I want to make you famous. Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you lunch? What's your name? I thought you told me to go f*** myself because I wouldn't wear a mask because I don't buy in the hoax, right? Because the CDC fudges the numbers. Oh, you just kicked me. You just kicked me right there. Oh, man. I'm not going to press charges because I'm not afraid of heroin addicts. That's right. Come on, kick me again.
Did you say I was heroin addict?
Oh, kick me right in my breast nuts. Come
Why
on.
did you say I'm a heroin addict?
Kick me.
Why are you such an asshole?
I'm sorry?
What's your problem?
I don't have a problem.
Yes,
I
you
got
do.
solutions.
You
I got solutions.
And what's the
You
solution
just hit
today?
me.
What is the solution?
Well, I offered to buy you a drink. Well, she won't turn her phone off, and it sounds like a bomb's detonating. Now she wants to, some crazy mental woman wants to curse at me in the Viet Cong native tongue here. You know, she's totally from the north. Totally the enemy, totally in the bag of China. You're in the bag of China. That's right. I know. I'm not happy about it either. I'm not happy. I don't like it either. I don't like it either. That's right. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, lady. Send you back to Vietnam. That's where we're taking you. But first we'll send you to the farm. Then the glue factory, then Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh sympathizer. Tonight's show is brought to you by Real Deal Media members, the Night Owls. Become a Night Owl. Join the cause. Be a visionary or debonair. A play from the Himalayas. Be iconic, not ironic, but also become a Real Deal Media member. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv. That's realdealmedia.tv. And sign up and join tonight, because tomorrow's never promised. However, tonight is, as a Real Deal Media member. Also, a major thank you to our other sponsors who keep these broadcasts going. They give, they send, they go, they Real Deal go. That's right. All you have to do is go to givesendgo.com/realdealgo. Become a patron. Become the fuel that fuels the operation, or as they say in England, the petrol. Thank you in advance. You know who you are. More to come. Okay, we are back here. We are back. How about that woman there? Well, that woman sounds like she sounds like a chicken every time she talks. That's Miss Chicken. That you'll know more about her. There's a lot of segments coming up with her in my bouts with this insanely Ho Chi Minh sympathizer. I swear to you. Anyways, welcome back, everyone. I'm still Dean Ryan, your cruise director who's cruising with you to midnight and beyond. But specifically, I love when we're cruising together, don't you? See you at the promenade later. After tonight's show, we're going to be doing a backstage members only. Members will send the link out. Just telling you now before I forget, because I have very feeble minds. All right. You know what's interesting is when I got everything back, I didn't think that just a month or so later, however long it's been, I didn't think that this would still be in the news, particularly this person right here. Yes, this is one of the actresses that plays Erica Kirkland, who you might have known from 1998's Snake Eyes film. We talked about this on some of our members-only shows, but I feel like I'm bringing it up now because I'm feeling salacious myself. It's now said to be that Erica Kirk, or the woman who plays her, is going to be, and this comes from an insider over there at the New York Times, that this woman here is going to be getting with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, did you hear about that? And I until I saw the hug that was felt around the world, I would not believe that was possible. But I mean, they were both just hot and heavy. They were so just hot and heavy and sweaty, so much so both of their mascaras and eyeliners were just, melting together. Which then I saw that and I started crying too. It was just so beautiful. It's probably the way that Charlie Kirk would want it, right? Yeah, it's bizarre. And it said that he's going to, J.D. Vance is going to be divorcing his wife, Shusha Usha, because she's not a Christian. Is he just figuring this out? Did he just meet her? J.D. Vance not know that this wife of his doesn't fit his over-the-top religious sector? I guess she's like, what, Hindu? Who knew, So now, yes, as Erica Kirk was running her widowed fingers through J.D. Vance's hair and touching the sides of his waist, everybody was thinking that, there's something going on here. But it's so obvious that this whole thing is scripted. But it's so obvious to me, too. It's very Illuminati. All these symbolisms and the timings of it all on the world stage. It's quite frightening. It's quite frightening. So I just wanted to share that with you. As my therapist said, I need to talk to myself more in front of other people. Okay, so there's that one. Yeah. Yes, Claudine says it best. Yeah, she's feeling loved, Claudine. She's feeling loved because, that's what widows do. As soon as their husband dies, they just start going for the vice president of the United States. in front of just everybody live on television, and then they make sure they have a personal camera person that's just yay under over their shoulder as they're talking to a mannequin in a coffin. What kind of world are we living in? I mean, we had 4 years of a mannequin in the White House. Now we have 4 years of like a variety of different Donald Trumps. I saw Donald Trump on the news the other day with the most un-Trumpian nose I've ever seen. It had an indent in the middle. It looked like, if I could describe it, it almost looked like Gerard Depardieu, if I could say, the widely acclaimed French actor. I swear to you. He was pretty good in Green Card. I just reminded myself that. And yes, another evil woman. Well, yes, I know. Reminds me of that song. ELO tried to warn us, didn't they? Okay, we're going to continue on now. That's enough. With that, I mean, look, the difference. We're still in this. We're still talking about this. These are two different people. Come on. That's the real Erica Kirk, and that's John Stamos on the left. It's just, we know what's going on here. We know what's going on here. All right, we're going to continue on now and get to some very salacious, seedy things happening in Mexico, as that brings us to some Real Deal International. Let's get on the Concorde, shall we? Real Deal International. Real Deal International. It's so good to be back, isn't it? Real Deal International. Anyways, well, there's something that happened in Mexico. And before we even know what happened in Mexico, I can tell you what's been happening in Mexico is a revolution. Yes, but not necessarily the one you might think of with the conquistas and the Mexican wrestlers with the little wee man next to him. No, not that one. Nor are we talking about the donkey show either. We're talking about a revolution that's going to kick out Gringo, especially Gringo from Tel Aviv's. Yeah. You'll know what I mean, as this is just now coming down the wire, as Mexican Presidente, El Presidente, was groped live on television, which it's so bad I'm not even sure I can show it, but I will watch it in the confines of my own time, because we can't take a chance here. Well, a man gropes the Mexican president in the street, something that very unprecedented and unwarranted, yet very Mardi Gras-like in this case. That's right, Miss Sheinbaum. Yes, Claudia Sheinbaum. Well, she was just walking around, gallivanting on the street, giving interviews, kissing babies, eating churros, and yes, matzo ball soup as well. Well, what should have been just a 5-minute walk, we've all been there. Well, the Mexico's National Palace over there, if you haven't been, I recommend. To the Education Ministry for President Claudia Sheinbaum has become a stomach-churning viral moment after a video captured a drunk man groping the president. That's terrible. That's terrible. And you don't see this happening to guy presidents. You don't see other men groping presidents of other countries. Then again, I just realized that well, that's not entirely true. I forgot about Macron. Yeah, he gets a man groping him every night. Look at that. Yeah, look, it's terrible. I do apologize. Well, continuing now. Well, this brief clip, which I may show after all, if I feel like it. Well, given the daily harassment and assaults that women suffer in Mexico, their highest profile platform, the president, well, it just now happened to her. She also called on the Sheinbaum used her daily press briefing to say that she had pressed charges against the man. She also called on states to look at their laws and procedures to make it easier for women to report such assaults, and said Mexicans needed to hear, quote, a loud and clear, no women's personal space must be violated. Hey, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. But how about their executive office as well? That got violated. How the hell did this woman get into the president role for Mexico? How in the world? We should have a symposium and independent counsel look at that. I mean, but it's the highest millionaire per capita in Mexico City. They don't have to worry about the poor of the poor. They just send them here, and we're more than happy to say yes, bring it. Well, Scheinbaum said she felt responsibility to press charges because if not, where would that leave Mexican women? Yeah, so deep. If this is done to the president, she says, what is going to happen to all of the young women in our country? Yeah, good point. Good point. It's almost like she wrote it herself. She probably did. Now, the man who's in question for alleged assault, I must say, just to be fair, his name is Andre Gonzalez Martinez. Andre Gonzalez Martinez. So he's three different people at any given time. So one of those three groped the president of the Mexican states. Now, he works for Mexican lender National Monte de Piedad, and said she has been harassed on public transportation many times. I'm sorry, this is another victim. This is not even the guy at all. This is Andrea, not Andre. Oh, God. They might press charges on me after this. Anyways, she's the coworker of the gentleman who did it. I'm sorry. She's saying that she's been groped by the man. His name is, it doesn't matter what his name is, but it's happened before. So apparently this guy has a groping history. He's a groper. He's part of the groping society. And he doesn't have a groping chance in hell that he's going to get out of these charges. And I'm going to grope myself onto the next story here. We do apologize for that, but here's an example. Yeah, so there she is walking down the street in her emerald jacket, and here comes Mr. Groper whispering sweet nothings in her ear, and she didn't like it. She cursed at him in Yiddish. But yeah, this happens. I'll tell you, Mexico is so dangerous. It is so dangerous. The amount of purses that are stolen from women, all groping aside, the amount of purses that are stolen from women just who are sitting at cafes is enormous. It's happening in all of the tourist spots, Tulum, Cabo San Lucas, and now it's happening to the president. Well, her purse wasn't stolen, but her dignity and mine too, feels like. Well, that brings us to the next story here because we saw this day coming. We didn't want to say it. We were hoping it wouldn't be. We were hoping it would let it be. Well, not in this case now, as now Washington is asking the UN if we can have American troops in Gaza because that's exactly where we need them. We need them wherever Israel feels, not so safe in their safe space. They feel pressured. They get a little bloody nose at just the mention of war. They get the attack dogs, us. They say, sick 'em. Let me tell you about this now, as Washington is now seeking United Nations approval for international security force to be deployed in Gaza. International security force. What is that? What does that comprise of? In fact, international security force from who? There's nothing left in Gaza. Where were they before to have stopped these psychotic demons from destroying everything? 85% of the entire city's gone. Where was that international security force? From what? This is an area with no military. There I go. My emotions getting the best of me. Well, let me tell you now, as the United States has now circulated a draft UN resolution once again to establish a international security force, or as they're calling it, acronym ISAF, to govern Gaza. So they want to govern a pile of dirt and all of the dead, the destroyed hospitals. Is that what they're governing? Let's ask Jared Kushner, since he controls our foreign policy. Well, Jared Kushner, the rat aside now, this is potentially extending the military through the end of 2027, if indeed the American troops do go to Gaza. And let's just replace if with when. Well, the force would act as an enforcement body, disarming Hamas that Netanyahu fuels, funnels, and pats on the back nightly, while securing borders and training Palestinian police, who are really Mossad, but don't tell anyone, rather than a passive peacekeeping mission. So we're going to be going there as what, karate trainers with, U.S. flags on our back? The conjoined one with the Israeli flag too? Doesn't that sound fun? So while Indonesia and countries you would never even be able to pronounce, nor did you know existed, well, one of them is Azerbaijan. Could even tell you what goes on in that country. Egypt and Turkey have all now signaled willingness to contribute their troops as well, their trainers, personal trainers or not, and Arab diplomats warn Palestinians may reject foreign administration. The West Bank, they're going for it right now. The Israelis are going for it, especially now they're saying if perceived as Israeli occupation by proxy, they're saying they don't want it there. So they're thinking like we are. Now, Hamas has already denounced the plan as foreign guardianship. Yeah, they have. Now, the proposal also includes U.S. chaired governance board. And you better believe Mark Levin is going to be on there as well. Ben Shapiro. Bob's the other one. They're all going to be part of that, which critics argue could entrench prolonged foreign control. Meanwhile, U.S. troops are already positioning in southern Gaza, training. Now, they're risking clashes with Israeli forces and are also being used as human shields. Now, the plan emerges amid the famine conditions, accusations Israel is blocking aid. Yeah, I've seen it with my own eyes. But if you say to any of them, they'll say, oh, you lie, you crazy. Now, it's raising fears that foreign intervention could either stabilize Gaza or provoke a wider conflict. We'll pick B, provoking. That's the favorite one. Now, Turkey insists any force must avoid veto interference by permanent members, UN members, security shielding Israel. And finally, analysts warn that the ISF deployment could trigger a retaliatory attack and deepen anti-Western sentiment and serve as a cover for elite agendas, such as depopulation, decentralized control, now while entrapping foreign troops in another asymmetric warfare that we're also used to in this country, aren't we? Can't remember a time where we haven't been in the Middle East, where we haven't been grandstanding and saying we have to take down evil dictators, providing the outcomes of other people's and other countries' elections. And here it is. The U.S. now balances Israeli support against Palestinian survival, with the outcome is now uncertain, yet still grim. And we're paying for this with our tax dollars. And it sickens me. It's the most disgraceful thing that I've ever had to be, forcefully, all of us had to be part of in our lifetime, I think so. First time we've ever seen genocide live on worldwide televisions. First time we've ever truly saw the true definition of ethnic cleansing. And yet the worst part of it, the first time ever, we've seen a full, flat lie by the people who are supposed to represent us, as they are displaying and showcasing treason in real time. It is disgusting, I must say. Well, speaking of disgusting, and I must deliver on that, well, it is the 5th of November, as they say. Well, that brings us to this colossal monster right here. Is he a spook? Is he a terrorist? Is he a criminal? Is he really from Poland and not just Jewish after all and a Satanist? Yes, that's Netanyahu. America's mysterious files on Netanyahu. Yeah, mysterious files. Mysterious, how mysterious are they? Well, this is interesting, let me tell you, and let's get into it now as we look into the spook terrorists that they call Netanyahu. This is a wonderful piece. I'll try to get through it, and I'm going to get too angry because now Congress, as we know, received Netanyahu with great fanfare. You might have seen that footage where he gave a speech. And by the way, he's not allowed to travel many other places. Netanyahu's not going to just the coral reef for vacation. He's not going to Australia. He's not going to London. He's not welcome in Canada, believe it or not. First time I've ever heard Canadians say no, at least from the office of power. However, he came to the United States and received a standing applause, roses, you name it, the whole thing. Now, President Clinton, former President Clinton, who during the recent election campaign had backed his rival, Shimon Peres, appears to have had a change of heart now. Yet, who is Prime Minister Netanyahu, and why did the political elite in the U.S. accept him with such warmth? So even the Democrats did too. Chuck Schumer, the husband of Tim Allen, I mean, he loves Netanyahu. Nancy Pelosi, yes, that bag of bones, she loves Netanyahu, and said even amidst of a government shutdown, even amidst as the apocalyptic times of the U.S. and we go down in flames, that their priority is to make sure that Israel's well-funded, nurtured, and burped, and everything, make sure their diapers are changed too at night and they sleep soundly. This is how the average American politician is speaking, thinking, or forced to think. And those who don't, like MTG or Thomas Massey, just to name a few, well, you get attacked by the media outlet that are friends of big Netanyahu, or you get assassinated. One or the other. That's your choice. You see, it's always an extreme choice. There's no gray area. Now, Netanyahu, who at first glance, when you first hear him speak, well, he sounds like he's a Chicano from LA. Well, he's worked very hard at that now, as he's lived both in Israel and U.S. His son lives in Miami. Yes, he does. I think with another man. Well, first, he spent most of his time in Israel growing up a little bit, they say, but really in Poland. He's held a dual citizenship with the U.S. for quite some time. He holds a bachelor's, a master of artistry at MIT. Wow. I never knew he went to the Musicians Institute of Technological Warfare. And also, he received federal loans to cover his cost for education at MIT. Did you know that? And he worked here too. I feel so used in like a you-know-what. Well, like every U.S. citizen now, Netanyahu even has a Social Security number. He might even be collecting Social Security. And hell, at this point, he might even have food stamps, for all we know. Yeah. You might have seen him in the inner cities at the soup kitchen in line. I mean, the guy is using every aspect of the common American today. He has a credit card. He has a U.S. bank credit card, a bank account, and numerous of other files in a variety of government office. Now some have discovered all this information. Now, Netanyahu's files, though, they differ. They're saying they differ from those of most U.S. citizens. Now, the Israeli weekly called Harar, it's called Harar, reports that 4 requests for credit approvals appear in U.S. Social Security files. Under each request, one finds a different name. Get this, Benjamin Netanyahu. So his Social Security, they're finding his number was applying for loans online. So that's, they know when you do that, or when you try to get your credit raised, or you try to get debt relief, it's crazy. So they're saying he goes under different names. Benjamin Netanyahu, as we know, is one of them. That's his first fake name. Benjamin Natia, that's another one. Then there's John J. Sullivan, the Skippy kid from next door. Then there's John J. Sullivan Jr., just in case you oust him and you figure him out. He's got a different one. He's a man with 4 different names. Hell, he might even have the name that one of our people used. His true name might even be Seth Black, for all we know. He might be using that name. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is of his current prime minister character's name. It was given at birth, they're saying, although we know quite different. They're saying back in 1973, his studies at MIT, Netanyahu submitted a petition to the Boston court. Yeah, went to the Boston courtyard and then went right to the Boston market saying that asking to change his name from Netanyahu to Natia, Nitai. That's why, as he preferred a shorter name for some reason. So these are all just, now here, this even gets better. Listen to this. So when he was not busy recreating his characters, his roles, his trying to live the American dream, while he just tap dances on the American taxpayer. Well, get where he lived now. He's lived now in Malibu, California, and other places throughout California, probably Florida as well, but definitely Malibu. Isn't that something? So can you imagine John J. Sullivan, the wild and crazy guy called John J. Sullivan, was doing nights on the town, probably with Gary Busey over there in Malibu. Isn't that interesting? Now, some people who obtained some of these files and are familiar with the person who's familiar with the files, they attempted to examine Netanyahu's Social Security file on its own, but were denied access, sadly. Yeah, that's interesting. You can't get a FOIA on that. They were denied access not merely due to the 1974 Privacy Act, but because the file had a, quote, confidential classification. Now, the sleuths, who are real gumshoes in their own right, have explained that the classification only applies to 5 categories of people: those who work for one of the 3 federal agencies. Really? Who could that be? Well, one of them being FBI, CIA, IRS. Sadly, there wasn't POS on the list as well, but we can always add that in the write-in. And those 2 latter categories, they're saying, are that he worked for the IRS. Possibly, it appears that he was on the payroll of the security agency, the CIA, or the FBI. And when you realize that the Mossad has full clearance and access to the Pentagon and to the executive branch office, when you hear CIA, who has no accountability, no oversight, and you hear Mossad, it's 2 of the same. What does that tell us? Now let's, upon further examination, they also examined the dual citizenship of Mr. John J. Sullivan. My man, John J. Sullivan. Give him a round of applause, man. How crazy. What if he played saxophone at a local jazz club? What kind of prime minister, what kind of war criminal does that? Well, now, according to Israeli law, a person who runs for the Knesset, that's the Israeli parliament, that's right, it's called the Knesset, cannot hold dual citizenship. Although Netanyahu claims that in 1982, he gave up his U.S. citizenship, yet he's unwilling to grant the press to access that file, as it's located in the U.S. Embassy over there in Tel Aviv, where Ben Shapiro hangs out quite often. Now, the status of his files in the U.S. has not been changed. So according to U.S. law, Netanyahu remains a U.S. citizen. I'll be damned. Somebody call ICE, deport him right away. Now, Netanyahu, the person who in 1982 left his job at a furniture salesman position to be a policy advisor over there at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., and within 14 years became the prime minister, is still in many ways a conundrum. By contrast, his political objectives are becoming clearer by the hour. So, just to rewind. So he was working like at Levitt's furniture store, selling futons and water mattresses to young couples in geriatrics, which that's also code. Furniture stores are code for money laundering. Just like all these donut shops in LA that you see the Chinese working at, that's code for money laundering for the CCP. In Native American casinos, code for money laundering for the CIA and the UN. And that's it for now. But you get the idea. He was always been CIA. He's always been Mossad, and that was his cover. So when they had to tell us who the hijackers for 9/11 were and how they got him in here, they're heavily practiced and rehearsed for that whole Knesset kind of dream and fantasy that was provoked on us. So this is just unbelievable. Finally Netanyahu has an ally in the cosmetic dynasty, Estee Lauder. He was getting his grubby hands in Estee Lauder cosmetics. He was the guy at Nordstrom's powdering your nose. So he's selling you furniture and hammocks. And then when he's not busy doing that, he's putting blush, lipstick on you and grandma at the mall. And his best friend was Ronald Lauder of the Estee Lauder cosmetic dynasty, who ran for mayor against Rudolfo Giuliani, who I think was wearing a dress during that time, if you recall, during his unsuccessful election campaign. Now, Lauder called Giuliani an imposter who was not a conservative enough to be a member of the Republican Party. Lauder is the founder, major contributor of the chairman of Shalom Shalenkum Institute, a right-wing think tank located in Jerusalem. Wow. So this is we are learning so much, aren't we? We are learning so much. Unbelievable. So we could have you could have seen John J. Sullivan on your way to the mall, just passing him up. I mean, he might have been working just valet, for all we know, at the W Hotel. I mean, this guy was everywhere. Now, do you see the correlation between what Netanyahu was doing as John J. Sullivan and what Jeffrey Epstein was doing? They were murking the waters with all their fingerprints in almost every aspect of industries. You know, IRS, is he IRS? Probably. He might have been IRS for a summer. Is he FBI? Well, he could have been FBI junior in training. I mean, he was a John J. Sullivan Jr. himself. I mean, this is unbelievable stuff. The amazing life of Benjamin Netanyahu, or whatever his name is. This is just unbelievable. Oh, it goes on and on and on. I mean, he has friends in high places. He went to MIT, and it all comes down to well, this is the quote. One of Netanyahu's goals, they found out, which he did introduce, is an aggressive policy of privatization. But also, he introduced what the 1996 brought us as the Clean Break Memo in 1996, which was the precursor to the neocons' project for the new American century. What the Clean Break Memo of Netanyahu, who became prime minister in 96, is interesting. Netanyahu becomes prime minister in 1996. Bill Clinton gets entangled with Lewinsky in 97, 98. Coincidence? Which goes into the article I wrote a long time ago that Netanyahu was blackmailing Clinton with his creepy phone sex calls and other misgivings that took place there. He had it all. This all began right when he became the prime minister of Israel. So this guy, very much so like Epstein, and is very much so here today. Now, the Clean Break Memo stated in 1996 that Israel would begin their Greater Israeli Project, meaning they were not going to stand idle with neighbors that are not fully on board with their Greater Israeli Project. And they would start doing wars of aggression, meaning that if they had to do a false flag on themselves, a self-inflicted wound, hence, i.e. October 7th, that's what they'll do on their own people to get a greater war to happen. And don't worry, we'll have the U.S. do it for us. See? Makes you think if those Romans were paid to kill somebody all those years ago. It wasn't just the Romans after all, don't you think? So this it's coming all out now. Now, who would be blocking this from coming out? And how do we get the files out? And how long are they going to protect? They're still protecting Lee Harvey Oswald's tax files, all of his tax clearances and his tax returns. We couldn't get those either. So that's interesting. And then also in closing, too, before I forget, Ben Shapiro, who's very much a shadow and a very miniature version of Netanyahu, but with painted eyebrows, that guy gave a chat to the Jerusalem Post just the other day. And I found this very significant because of what he said is kind of what I saw coming right now is the greatest threat to Israel is the MAGA right, or what he called them, the extreme right. So all the people that are disenfranchised now from the MAGA movement are now the greatest threat that's posing. So do you see why they had to get the sentiment out, and the narratives and the laws passed for the left-wing extremists? So then you had a lot of conservatives, or what they feel is conservative, going, yes, do it, go for it, right in the jugular, give them the elbow. Okay, this is what you want. And so they did. And guess what? They're now figuring out, wait a minute, we said that guy, I'm not the guy you should be giving the elbow. I'm not the guy you should be coming to take my guns. But it's too late. You see, that's the game of chess. It's the game of life. And that's how it's happening. Just like we're figuring out, too, why the borders were left wide open for all those years during the mass bandit presidency. They knew, like, why was Abbott allowing free passage into Texas and sending them to, Nantucket? It's all for the cause and effect, because now you have Microsoft, you have the big banks, here's the big one, BlackRock and Mr. Larry Stink, all talking about how we need to have the digital ID. We need to know the digital ID is going to be coming through the fingerprint that they've been training everybody for the past 15 years to be doing on your phones, when you go to the gym, when you go to, it's, the road to hell with good intentions has a lot of convenience and luxuries, meaning they want to save you those 14 seconds where you got to type in your password and just put your fingerprint. And the average person's not thinking, oh, what are they going to do with my fingerprint? Oh, nothing. It doesn't stay there. So now they want to say, to go to grocery stores, to go to banks, to go to work, they're now introducing and putting into play the social credit scores through safety, through all these new safety security apparatuses that they want to put into play in motion right now. So that's why Ben Shapiro is now saying that the greatest threat is the extreme right. And, he's talking about people like Candace Owens. They're talking about Tucker Carlson, as they just disavowed him and literally said over the weekend at a Jewish coalition that the greatest anti-Semite in America today is Tucker Carlson. David Duke stood up and said, hey, what about me? I'm still alive here. What about me? But you see, it's not what about him. It's not about what you say. It's about who's listening to you, how many are listening to you, and do we have that control of them? Because YouTube, Facebook, all these big ones are all going through the filter of Mossad, so they can pinpoint and peck who's watching what, who's going to be an issue, what part of the country do we have to worry about, and what's their IP address. That's what this is all about. And that's why I believe Israel is the one who kicked off this pandemic war, because they knew this next generation is not going to go along to get along, and their greater Israeli project for the clean break memo states this is now or never, so that they're going for it all. Felt like a final thought, didn't it? Jeez. We have a lot of people commenting. Okay, so I'm going to end it there, but before I do, so I get cottonmouth by the minute. It's just crazy. Before I do, I want to say I'll be here tomorrow night. Thanks for everybody's patience during this time of picking myself up back together and all the pieces to bring this incredible franchise to you, give it some new life. And thanks for everyone who's stood by me, helped me get back on my feet here. It's a pricey thing to do, get a new system. And it's frustrating, I can say. It's very frustrating. So it's going to take me a little time to get a full running machine once again, well oiled. So I'll get there in due time. But in the meanwhile, I'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be doing it again and again, and you'll see some of the old faces, new faces come to play as we get back on our trajectory. So for all of us here at Real Deal Media's World at War, the #1 late night show, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night with me. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned, stay awake, and let's not take it from these people. We know who they are. They got a face now, and we got the power to just bash them right in it. So with that in mind, good night, everybody. Sleep well. See you.
Tries to understand what's in his hands. Walks alone in open road, surviving if you can. Oh no, Going through the weight of all the words I try to say. Chained to all the places that you never wish to stay. Bound thrown away the wrong words you try to say. Now you've placed the sun, you cast no shadow. Now you've placed the sun, you cast no shadow. As it took my soul to store this night. Soul, this story's pride. As it face the sun, I cast no shadow. As it face the sun, I cast no shadow. Going through the weight of all the words you try to say. Chained to all the places that you never wish to stay. Now throw away all the words you try to say. Now you face the sun, you cast no shadow. Now you face the sun, you cast no shadow. Now you face the sun.